to part 2 of our day 1 of parabolas from Conics. We are now going to be writing equations again, but this time given different pieces of information. The first thing we are going to practice is writing the equation when we're given the vertex and the focus. Now for these types of problems where you're just given the coordinates, I find that it is most helpful to just sketch a rough draft graph on your page to visually see and understand what they're talking about here. So for example, on number 5, if my vertex is at 0, 0 at the origin, and my focus is up here at 0, 4, that means that this parabola is opening upward because my focus is inside the parabola. So that's helpful to me to recognize, okay, it's vertical up, which means I'm going to use my vertical equation, and P has to be positive. Then I use those 2 points to find P. How far apart are my vertex and my focus? Well, that is 4 apart, so P is 4. So I know it's vertical, P is positive 4, that's my vertex, so I can write my equation, x squared equals 16y. Okay, let's do that again on number 6. I've got, again, a vertex and a focus, so I'm going to draw a rough graph, just an easy peasy one. There's my vertex at 0, 0. And my focus is at 5 over 2, 0, right here. And remember, the focus is inside the parabola, so that tells me that this is opening to the right. So it's horizontal, opening to the right. So I know I'm going to use my horizontal equation, and because it's to the right, P has to be positive. The distance between those 2 points is pretty easy to find here. That's going to be 5 over 2, which is P. So for this one, y squared equals 10x. 10 coming from 5 over 2 times 4. Let's do that 2 more quick times, still looking at our vertex and our focus. On number 7, let's sketch a quick graph to see what exactly that's going to look like. This one's not at the origin, so at -7, 1 is my vertex. And my focus is at -7, 3/4, so just below it. So this is going to, again, be a vertical parabola, but opening downward. So P has to be negative. And from 1 to 3/4, that's just a quick 1/4 apart. And it is negative because we're opening down. So there's my vertex, vertical parabola, x plus 7 squared equals -1, because -1/4 times 4 is -1, times y minus 1. Okay, last one like this. Again, I'm just going to do a rough sketch. This time my vertex is at 2, -6, and my focus is at -3, -6, so over here. So that tells me this parabola is opening to the left, so it's horizontal. And if it's opening left, that means P has to be negative. So now I need to figure out how far apart is this vertex and that focus. Well, going horizontally, 2 and -3 are just 5 apart. So P is -5. So I can plug this information into my horizontal parabola equation. And there I have it. Okay, let's look at set 3. This time I'm given my vertex and directrix. Again, I want to graph this so I can visually see what's going on. If my vertex is at the origin, no biggie, but then my directrix is at y equals 8. That's a horizontal line up here. And the directrix is always outside the parabola, so my parabola has to be opening downward. So it's going to be vertical, down, and I still need to find P. Well, how far apart is my vertex from the directrix? And that is 8. So P is going to be -8, and it's negative because of the direction opening being downward. So x squared equals -32y. Short and simple. Let's look at number 10. Again, my vertex is at the origin, so no biggie. But my directrix is now x equals -2, which is a vertical line over here. So for the directrix to be outside, that means the parabola is opening to the right. So horizontal, opening to the right, P is going to be positive. These are 2 apart, and my vertex is still 0, 0, so y squared equals 8x. Now, again, if I'm given the vertex and the directrix, but I'm not at the origin, I'm going to follow that same process, but it might be a little trickier to you. So if I'm at 7, 4 for my vertex, and my directrix is at x equals 3 over 2, that is a vertical line, like right here. So we're opening horizontally again to the right. And I just need to find P. I need to know how far apart these two are. From 7 to 3 over 2. 7 to 3 over 2, and that is going to be 11 over 2, or 3.5, or excuse me, 5.5. So y minus 4 squared equals 11 over 2 times 4 is 22 times x minus 7. Okay, last one like this. I'm going to graph. My vertex is at -1, -1, and my directrix is at y equals -8 down here. That means that this parabola has to be opening upward. And P is going to be positive. The distance between these two is 7. So P is 7. I have my vertex already. Plug that into my vertical parabola equation. X plus 1 squared equals 28 times y plus 1. Okay, the last and final set, and probably the trickiest one. This is when you're given the focus and the directrix. So again, I'm going to sketch my graph, and when you're writing the equation, remember the things you need to know are, 1, the direction. I need my vertex, and I need to know P. So there's going to be an added step here of having to identify where the vertex is. That was a step I didn't have to take in any of the other problems because the vertex was given to me. So looking at 13, if my focus is at 3, 0, and my directrix is at x equals -3, again, that's a vertical line. This is the focus. What that means is my vertex is going to be in between, and in fact the halfway point between these two, and it's going to be opening to the right. So there's my first helpful piece of information. I know it's horizontal, opening to the right, and so P has to be positive. Now the distance from the focus to the directrix is double P, because from the focus to the vertex is P, and then the vertex to the directrix is also P. So if this is 2P, how far apart are these two? And that's going to be 6, which means P is 3. And then the last thing I need to find is my vertex. So from my focus, I need to go back 3, and that's actually going to happen to land me at the origin for this particular parabola, which is nice. So I have my vertex, horizontal parabola, P is positive 3. So y squared is going to be 12x. Let's do that again. On number 14, my focus is at 7, -2. 7, -2, and my directrix is y equals -4. So this is going to be opening upward, vertical, upward. And then double P is going to be the distance between my focus and my directrix. Well, from -2 to -4, that is 2 apart. So P is 1. And so I'm going to go down 1 to get my vertex, which is going to be located at the point -2, -3. Sorry, 7, -3. I don't know where I got that -2 from. 7, -3. Apologies. Okay, so there's my vertex, P, and I know it's positive because we're opening upward. Plug it into my vertical parabola equation. X minus 7 squared equals 4 times y plus 3. Okay, last two. My focus is at -8, 5, and my directrix is x equals 4, this vertical line. So I'm going to be opening to the left. My vertex is going to be the halfway point here, but I know it's horizontal and to the left. So let's figure out what 2p is. The distance between my focus and my directrix is 12. And so p is going to be -6, and it's negative because I'm opening to the left. So if I go 6 away to get my vertex, that is at the point -2, 5. So there's my parabola, there's my vertex, p is -6, plugging it into my horizontal parabola equation. Okay, and last but not least, the last melon. -4, -3/2, there is my focus, and then my directrix is just above it, really close horizontal line, y equals 1/2. So this parabola is going to be opening downward, so it's vertical, opening down. And then p, how far apart is the focus from that directrix? From -3/2 to -1/2. That is just 1 apart. And so p is going to be -1/2, the negative coming from the fact that it's opening downwards. And so my vertex is going to be 1/2 away from that focal point. And so that's going to put me at -4, -1. So plugging that into my equation for a vertical parabola, I get x plus 4 squared equals -2 times y plus 1. And that concludes part 2 of our parabola notes.